Thank you for choosing CTN. And now, it's time with Herman and Sharron.
I love you. Sharron is in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. Hi, all of you folks that watch us in Pigeon Forge, Sevierville, Gatlinburg, all of that area. Hello. You will see her walking around the streets with our daughter and with her whole family. That's one of their favorite places to go. And I agree, because I love it there too. I met because of a guy that I listened to on AM radio 1110 on your AM dial. He's on at 4 o'clock. His name is Dave Ramsey, and the fellow that I'm going to interview today, I'm always open for suggestions. So I'm listening to Dave Ramsey, and he says Brian Pope, and it's in fact it's the Pope investment. He's a Pope financial planning investment kind of guy, and I'm going, wow, if Ramsey says that, this guy must be good. So while I'm driving, I wait for the next red light. Seems like it's never going to happen. Stop, get my little pad and pen, and write down the name. It laid in my car for a long time. In fact, until I finally got to make a copy of where he is located, right there, his place, and finally found the guy. But it's because of this guy that you're about to see that I connected with the Pope, Brian Pope. And so take a look at Dave Ramsey and use his website, would you, so that he doesn't come after me, because he's got a lot of money and he could sue me. But anyway, go to his website and say how much you appreciated what he had to say, and you're going to enjoy Brian Pope right after this. But I've got a surprise. I mean, for a lot of people, when this video ends or this DVD ends, I have a surprise. So don't go anyplace when it ends, and then we're going to go into the interview. Watch carefully and listen carefully.
This is what happens when you save money. First thing is you save for an emergency. 3 to 6 months of expenses is a fully funded emergency fund. The second thing you save up for is you save up and pay cash for things. When you pay cash for things, a couple of things happen. One is cash hurts when you spend it. If you get 10 Uncle Benjamin Franklins like this is my most expensive visual aid, and you carry Uncle Ben around a little while, he becomes part of the family. You know, it's like, Uncle Ben. And you get ready to spend him, you're like, Uncle Ben, I'm sorry, man, you're going out for adoption. I mean, you have a moment with Ben, don't you? You feel it when you spend cash. MIT did a study with MRIs that was published in Carnegie Mellon magazine, where they found that when you spend cash, it activates the pain centers of the brain. When you spend with plastic, nothing. Flatline. Like there was no brain. Something to think about. So when you spend with cash, it hurts, you spend less. The other thing is when you spend and you get ready to purchase something with cash, you can get a deal. You know, sometimes I just go in those electronic stores and walk around. They'll start following you, won't they? Hey, I mean, they'll, you know, right? And you go, okay, I want a bargain. Well, Mr. Ramsey, we don't negotiate here. Really? You sure? Look deeply into my eyes. My wife, Sharron, won't go with me. She says, you embarrass me. I said, well, it's just a side benefit. This is just, you know, so you pay cash for things and you get a great deal. The third thing we save for is for wealth building. Did you know $100 a month invested from age 30 to age 70? $100 a month, latte breath. Pizza boy. Oh, do I need to go further about golf? Or, oh, I won't get personal and insult anybody. But $100 a month from age 30 to age 70 invested in a decent growth stock mutual fund in your Roth IRA, tax-free would be about $1,176,000. There's no excuse for you not to retire a millionaire. $100 a month. You blow $100 a month, most of you. Can't even tell me where it went because you don't have a written plan. Invest. Now I hear Christians say, well, I have faith. Have the faith to read his word. In the house of the wise are stores of choice food and oil. Fools spend everything they make. That's not faith. That's a fool. I didn't say it. God said it. Get mad at him. He's the one messed up your theology. Fools spend everything they make. Wise people save and invest.
Great information. I have the privilege of listening to him on AM radio, 1110 on your AM dial, every day, and I glean something from what he says every day. What I'm about to do, no one knows I'm going to do it, but I'm kind of known for that on this program. Follow me, Dave. I drive my director crazy. Mag, we're just going to go by first names.
Yes.
How you doing?
I'm good.
Okay, if we got him on camera, good. What do you think about being debt-free? That's what we're going to talk about. Brian Pope is a expert in that area. Have you ever thought about it?
That's my life dream.
Really?
Oh yeah. I would like to be debt-free, completely debt-free.
Have you made any approaches to that goal?
Yes. One of the things that we've done just recently is we shredded all our credit cards. We put it through the shredder, and we have a little Ziploc bag on our fridge now to remind us, don't go back.
That's unique. So you're on your way.
Yes, yes. And we have a plan traced out for the rest of the year and into next year, and how to pay down that debt a little bit at a time.
Well, call Brian when you hit that goal, will you? Because he'd like to know, the guy I'm going to talk to.
Okay.
Okay. Hey, good job. That was Mag. And this guy right here that I'm walking to, his name is Tommy.
Hey.
Have you got Tommy out? There we go, right there. Okay. Have you ever desired to be debt-free?
Yes. Yes.
Have you ever approached or made a goal for that destination?
Yes.
You have?
Yes, I have. I've tried.
And you've broken it? Kind of like a diet, huh?
Not completely. Not completely.
So you haven't arrived yet?
No.
Do you have a destination time? I mean, like a year, 2 years, 5 years?
No. I don't have a plan.
You don't?
Not
If you don't have a plan, you will not arrive at any place.
Well, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail.
Oh, that's good. See, I wish I'd have had that.
But I'm not planning to fail, but I've got a lot of things I'm trying to take care of and do. But I am got a slight plan. I don't use plastic except for extreme emergencies, but I try to stay off the credit card.
Good for you. Good for you. My next guest, right over here, his name is Gary. And he's following me right here, and then they're going to go to Gary. Hey, Gary.
Hey.
How you doing?
Doing fine.
Have you ever thought about being debt-free?
Yes.
Do you want to be?
Yes. In fact, we're on our way to that. We've got 80% of our house paid off.
Good for
the
you.
The only thing we're in debt for is our car, which we haven't gotten to the point of saving money to pay off a car when you buy it.
How much do you owe on the car?
Probably $15,000.
As Dave Ramsey would say, sell it.
I know.
I mean, that's what he says all the time. As soon as they go a certain amount, sell it.
Yeah. But my wife's a hospice nurse and she works nights, and I don't want her to be in something that's not reliable.
Okay.
So that's the issue. But
well, listen to what Brian Pope is going to tell us. And there's one more. Sue. Sue, right here. She's my floor director.
Hi.
Hi, Sue.
Hi.
Can we get her on camera? There we go, right there. Have you ever desired to be debt-free?
Absolutely.
Are you making any plans
I'm
for a
hoping.
destination?
I'm hoping.
Okay. Do you have a plan?
I'm trying, yeah. I'm working on it.
Okay.
So.
Because you need a plan. So
Yes, with God's help.
You're ripe. But you know, it's like God, we look for God to help us, but we
Yes.
don't do anything.
Oh.
Did you ever
no.
notice how that works?
Yeah.
It's like, God help me lose 20 pounds, and we keep eating.
Right.
So Brian Pope is going to let you know how to plan.
Amen.
Are you ready for that?
Sounds good. Thanks.
Okay. Here's my special guest. It is good to have you. I'd shake hands with him, but I have a little cough.
That's all right.
I don't want to.
That's okay.
I don't want to pass it on to you.
Thank you for having me, sir. Appreciate it.
Our first meeting, we just sat down and we got to know each other. Is that what you normally do?
Absolutely. It's personal finance. So if I don't know what makes you tick and what's important to you, that's part of the process. That's the most important thing. This is all about you. Money's just a product of everything else in your life, but I have to know what lights your fire before we can go to the next step and learn to put together a plan for your money. So absolutely.
This book, by the way, if you go to the website, Brian Pope, and he suggested, in fact, you gave me a copy when I left.
Yep.
And signed it, but you're not the author.
No, I'm not the author.
You just agree with what it says in
Absolutely.
there. Great book, great ideas, but you have to want to do what the book says.
Yep.
You know, it's kind of like overweight, alcoholic, whatever your area of life that you say, I just can't stop this thing. You've got to want help before you arrive at any way to plan for that destination. Now, we talked around the room. They had no idea I was going to do that. I just love their responses. It was really good. I mean, it surprised me. I thought they would jump back from me and go, get out of here. But I mean, it was excellent.
Well, it's scary to open up and talk about money.
What do you think
about
about
a very personal thing?
Cutting up the credit cards over here.
That's fantastic. I mean, I give you all the credit in the world.
Good.
That's you really have to be motivated.
Yeah.
And personal finance, as Dave Ramsey says, it's 80% behavior and 20% head knowledge. So you can know the right things to do, just like working out. You know it's great to run 3 times a week, but to actually do it is a different thing.
Now, Dave Ramsey, you met. Why did you go that direction?
Well, I didn't know who Dave Ramsey was about 12 years ago, and I just happened to pick up his book when I was traveling in the airport, and I couldn't put it down. I got through it in one night. I'm like, you know what? This isn't rocket science, but it makes sense. Why am I not doing this?
That's why it's so neat. It is not rocket science.
No, it's not. It's not.
It's like when you hear common sense, you go, wow, I wish I'd have thought of that.
Yep. So it's 100% common sense, Herman, and I started applying the principles in my life, and I just was recently married and got together with my new wife and said, okay, will you read this book? We need to get on the same page here. And fortunately she did, and we ended up adding up all our debts, and it was normal stuff like a lot of the folks in this room mentioned. It was car payments, we had a little bit of credit cards. We decided to put in a pool, which is our big moment, I guess, but we live in Florida. Come on, you got to have a pool.
Oh, I know.
So we added all this up. It was $130,000 in debt. And we're making about $1,500 in monthly payments to support that debt.
So you're making a lot of money, but you're not living like you have any money.
We were not managing our money like God would want you to.
I heard Dave Ramsey, he had on his program one time, 2 doctors. They were in debt over $700,000.
Wow. I believe it.
Making money like you can't believe, but they had nothing to live on.
Yep.
All of their days, they were spending doing all of this brain work where they went to school for. They had nothing to show at the end of the day.
Yep. Well, the more you make, the more you spend. And people that actually are in upper middle class neighborhoods actually, are in more financial difficulty a lot of the times than people that are just in middle class neighborhoods. I see it all the time. People that make $200,000 but don't do a monthly budget, and then they end up, making $200,000 but spending $220,000 a year. So that has to stop.
I'm debt free, but I'm 75 years old. If I wasn't debt free at 75, just go ahead and shoot me. but had I known the books like this and the Dave Ramseys, had I known that at 30, just like he was saying, $100 a month can make you, at my age, if you start now, younger people like 30, whatever, by the time you're my age, you'll be a millionaire.
Yep. No, the earlier you start, the better off you are. So you got to start teaching your kids to invest and to save and start from a very early age so that they have these habits, because they don't teach you this stuff in school. And it's really a shame that you don't learn personal finance before you graduate high school. You learn about geometry and calculus and things you'll never use again in your life unless you're an engineer, but you don't learn how to do a monthly budget. So these are things you need to start teaching your kids when they're young, because they're at an advantage. If they could put that $100 away when they're 20, 23, get their first job, they're going to be set for life. Yeah. But if you start when you're 50, 60, it's a different story.
I have to tell you, your kids imitate you. And I can see my kids. They have imitated what I mean, when I was a young guy, young executive in Buffalo, New York, out of college, 2 children, I literally bought an automobile. You might think I'm exaggerating. I'm not. My wife was here. She'd go, oh, yeah. In fact, I'm not sure it was more than that. Every 6 months, I'd have a different car.
Yeah, that's not a good investment plan.
And I mean, because I mean, I was hooked on cars.
Yeah.
And plus other jewelry and whatever. But and when I read books like this and hear individuals like Dave Ramsey, I go, oh my goodness, just think, because you can't go back, right?
Yeah,
you can't go back and say, oh, I'm 30 now, I'm going to do what I know to do right now. You can't do that. That only happens if you right now are watching at 30 and 25 or whatever and listening to Brian Pope and get in touch with people like Brian. This is the time to make that decision.
But it's never too late at the same time. You
Oh,
can
yes,
always.
it is. No, just kidding. Just kidding.
It isn't, and
Yeah.
and there's a reason you were, you persisted and got a
And then I
hold
brought
of me.
my wife, and
Yeah,
she-
brought my wife, and
Yeah.
we got to talking, and it's never too late. You could always make positive changes in your life. So I don't want people to walk away from your show going, I'm too old for this. I can't, get a budget.
Seniors are living 50% longer. Wow.
Well, it's scary out there. If you look at the statistics, people are, scared of the stock market. 73% of people are scared to death to touch the stock market.
I did, and I told you that
Yep.
in our conference. I said I was in the stock market pretty heavy, and I just pulled it. I yanked it because I was listening to Glenn Beck, which
And
I
you want
think
to buy
he's-
gold,
Well, not only that, but I mean he was talking about the stock market, which is true. I mean you can't trust it.
Yeah. But that's the problem, is people listen to what's going on in the radio,
Yeah.
and they need to tune out the headlines because the news cycle is crazy now. The media, you turn CNBC, and they like the negative headlines, so they run with that. If you start buying into the fact that the market's down 100 points today, doomsday predictions, you're not going to have a very successful investment plan.
You're a big one in invest for the long term.
You have to. The stock market goes up, the stock market goes down, but fortunately it goes up more than it goes down. So you just need to be focused on the long term. And that's where someone like me comes in handy, because my job is easy when the market's going up. But I earn my money when the market starts going down, because I got to keep people from jumping off the ledge.
Do you have people? Brian, you told me that if I gave you $75,000, that everything would be okay. It's not okay, Brian. What am I going to do? This is hypothetical.
My clients, we understand. That's why I take the time up front, like when we met, understand that this is a long-term proposition and that it's going to go down as long as it's go up. But it's going to go, if you stick with the plan, you're going to be fine.
Is that what
in the
you
long
tell
term.
them?
Yeah, absolutely. I set the table that there's going to be some bad times here. And we're going to be sitting down in meetings where the market's going to be up 20%. We're going to be sitting down in meetings where the market's down 20%. But that's, like I said, where I earn my money is making sure that they stay focused on the long term. Because where people, their investment plans derail is when they panic, when the market has a 2008 event and they pull out. Well, the problem is if you would have stayed the course throughout that time and not touched your money, you would have been fine. Yeah. You would have been making money to this point, but so many people panicked, took their money out, and that's the worst thing you could do. You actually need to do the opposite of what your gut tells you to do when it comes to stock market.
In fact, I was listening on the radio again, Dave Ramsey one time, and he was saying this lady invested $80,000 in money markets and this kind of thing, and said, you're going to be okay. Well, she, first 2 years, I think, had her 80,000 had dropped to 60 or 70, something like that. And so I'm hearing this and I'm going, my wife Sharon would say, what have you done? I told you. And I'm sure she was getting the same thing. Said the same thing you just said. You've got to stick with it.
Yep.
He was saying that by the time she was ready to cash out, $125,000 was in her account.
Yep. No, you could start with 75 and it could go down to 50 in a year. That could happen, but over the long term, you're going to make more than you could in any other vehicle out there. There's no guarantees, albeit, but history has told us, and everything that I talk about is based on Nobel Prize winning research. And everything in the Wealth Solution book is based on those facts. It's all academic research, Pulitzer Prize, Nobel Prize winning stuff.
Go to the Dave Ramsey website also, because he has books available that, just like you say, you don't have to be a rocket science to figure out what he's saying. It's just like you look at it and you go, man, I wish I'd have thought of that.
Yep, yep.
And now, I like somebody like you because you understand debt-free psychology.
Yep.
You understand what it's all about. I always am reluctant to go to a doctor that's sitting there about 100 pounds overweight and telling me how to take care of myself.
Yep.
I'm looking at him and going, so how is that working out for you? But when you're going to, the Pope, just think of that. Who's your financial guy? The Pope. Pretty good one. But when you go to somebody that has that mindset of being debt-free, you then can have a goal like Sue, she wants to. Well, I'm going to pray about it. I mean, that's 99.9% of Christians. Yeah, I want to do that.
Yep.
I'm going to pray about that.
But you actually have to take the steps
You have to
make
do
it happen. Like God feeds the birds out there.
I need to lose 10
produces
pounds.
He
I'm
makes
gonna
the
pray
worm.
about that. Yeah.
But you actually have to go out. God doesn't bring the worm to the bird's mouth. The bird actually has to go out and do it. So it's the same thing in our lives. And 90% of people out there, Herman, don't have a plan whatsoever. They don't do a monthly budget. And that's the basic building block for everything.
Yeah.
You got to have control of your finances. You got to be able to tell your money where to go. And once you do that, you're going to find, hey, I have some leftover money here because I have my behaviors in check, because I actually have things on paper.
Did you hear that research that when Dave, just before we started, that psychologically the brain is flatlined when you use a credit card?
Yep.
But when you take out your money out of your wallet and you actually pay, from your money, I guess dollars.
Ouch.
Yeah, that's it. There's one. And you actually say here that the brain chemistry changes.
It does. And studies have shown that if you pay with cash and hand it over, you get that tab at the, when you have that $100 dinner, you're taking people out, you start forking the dollars, you're like, man, that hurts. But if you hand over a credit card, a debit card, no pain whatsoever. And that's the number one thing I see with the population out there, Herman, is that people love to swipe, not just a credit card, it could be a debit card, but they like to swipe. And it's not necessarily $100 purchases, it's $10, $5 at Wendy's, McDonald's, Starbucks, and it all adds up. So the number one thing that I want to get control of with people when we meet is to stop their swiping. So that's where the cash system comes into play.
Wow.
So that they're accountable and they actually feel the pain.
Now they keep it in an envelope?
Envelope system, we're Dave Ramsey 101. You absolutely get 3 or 4 envelopes wherever you have trouble with impulse spending. And it's only impulse spending. You don't want an envelope for gas because you're not going to impulsively go out and fill your tank up.
Yeah.
But if you have a problem with eating out, if you have a problem with shopping, shoes, Target, you need to tell your money at the beginning of the month how much you're going to spend for that category. So if you decide...
When you look in that envelope and you got $5 left, you're done.
You're done. So that's the beauty of it. If you get to the 25th of the month and your dining out envelope is empty, guess what? You're eating in that night until the next month. So it keeps you accountable. And that's where people fall apart, is the end of the month, where they go out and just continue to swipe. So that's one just check and balance.
It is amazing with this simple system, the couple, the 2 doctors that had $700,000 in debt, within 2 years,
Paid it off?
had paid it off.
Really? Wow.
Using
Just the
Dave
envelope system.
Ramsey's method.
Yep.
And I remember him asking, what was the hardest thing? They said, well, we're doctors, right? How would you like to go in a restaurant and you're taking out an envelope and you're paying?
Sure.
It was kind of embarrassing. And we would have to say no to concerts that they were normally going to or whatever. No, that's not in the budget. Well, that is embarrassing, but to get to that goal of $700,000 completely paid off,
Yep.
they had to stop spending.
Well, they had to make that mind shift. They had to get out of the payment mindset. We can make the payments, therefore.
Wow.
But it helps to have a nice, healthy income like that. Income is an important piece of the process because there's only so much you can cut.
Yeah.
But it sounds like in their case, they were just spend. Got to keep up with the Joneses. We have an image to.
Two Luxus.
We have an image to uphold here, and they made that shift though. And once they did, their life changed.
But I'm sure you've had people that are making $25,000, $30,000 that are head over heels in debt. Once they get out of debt, all of a sudden it's like giving them a raise.
Sure. All of a sudden they're not making payments, they're paying themselves. And then the fun starts where they can start investing and start giving more.
Yeah, that's
so
the key.
It frees it up.
That's
Absolutely.
The key. Giving more. I know you've probably heard our telethons or whatever, and you're saying to yourself, I can't give because I've got to make my payments.
Yep.
And once you are debt-free, you then can hear somebody say, here's $1,000 or $500 or $10 or whatever, and you can actually make a decision while you're watching or in your church, which is the place you ought to be giving your tithe, and actually give to missionaries and to projects because you're debt-free.
Frees up. It's really freedom. I mean, that's what's, being debt-free purchases. It purchases your freedom, freedom to give, freedom to live the life that you want.
Now, if they go to the website, Brian Pope,
PopeFinancialPlanning.com.
there it is right there. The wealth, and that's the book, The Wealth Solution. Then it'll let you know how you can get a copy of that. But your company is, again?
It's Pope, P-O-P-E, Financial Planning.
Okay, we've got that. There it is, right there.
Yep.
Pope Financial Planning. There's the website number. So if they call you to make an appointment, now, please understand, if you go to Dave Ramsey's website, he's all over. He's national. So he has people like you in other places in the United States. So like I tagged into you because I heard him.
Sure.
That's what you do if you can go online and get his information. Like if you live in Virginia, then you can find out the guy that's equivalent to you in Virginia.
Yep.
Or Washington State or wherever you might be watching, Michigan, wherever. So everybody has an opportunity to find a Brian Pope like I did. So if you're in this area, give him a shot, okay? Because I'm telling you, if you want to be free, owe no man anything. That's freedom, total freedom. Let me tell you how you can have the greatest freedom of all. Trust Jesus Christ as your personal Lord and Savior. You know how simple that is? Oh God, be merciful to me, a sinner. I invite you today to come into my heart and life. I receive you as my personal Lord and Savior. If we'll confess with our mouth the Lord Jesus and believe in our heart that God hath raised him from the dead, thou shalt be saved. God bless you. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching It's Time. If you have recently made a decision for Christ, Herman and Sharron would like to hear from you.